August 1st, 1944, near Avranches, Normandy. Dust hangs low over the hedgerows, kicked up by hundreds of tank tracks and truck tires, grinding forward without pause. Engines roar day and night, a constant metallic thunder that never quite fades. Somewhere near the front of the column, a soldier grips the rim of his helmet as another Sherman lurches past, its radio crackling with clipped, urgent voices. The Germans are pulling back, but not fast enough. Standing near a command vehicle, his ivory-handled pistols resting heavily on his hips, Lieutenant General George S. Patton watches the road like a man studying a living thing. He is 60 years old, sunburned, steel-eyed, and utterly convinced of one belief that governs every decision he makes. Speed. Not firepower, not caution. Speed. At exactly 12 noon, Patton's Third Army officially becomes operational. The ink on the orders is barely dry, and already his units are moving. No ceremonial pause, no build-up, just motion. Columns stretch as far as the eye can see. Armor, artillery, fuel trucks, ambulances, all surging west then south like water finally breaking through a dam. Patton turns to one of his staff officers and snaps, "We'll be in Brittany before they know we're loose." This is not bravado. It is calculation. For 7 brutal weeks after D-Day, the Allied armies have been locked in the hedgerows of Normandy, advancing yard by bloody yard. German defences, battered but stubborn, have survived by clinging to terrain, regrouping at night, sealing gaps by morning. Every pause has given them time to recover. Patton intends to deny them that time entirely. The breakthrough at Operation Cobra has torn a hole in the German front near St. Lo. American bombers have pulverized German positions, killing and disorienting entire divisions. For the first time since June 6th, there is open space beyond the battlefield. Roads, towns, rail junctions, and Patton sees it instantly. Where other commanders might consolidate, Patton accelerates. His orders are simple and ruthless. Bypass resistance, leave cleanup to follow on forces, and never stop moving unless absolutely forced. If a German unit retreats, chase it. If it tries to form a new line, hit it before the line exists. If fuel runs low, keep going until the tanks sputter dry. Speed, he tells his officers, is the cheapest form of saving lives. To Patton, every hour gained is fewer Americans dead tomorrow. German commanders feel the effect almost immediately. At 7th Army headquarters, telephones ring constantly. Reports arrive fragmented, confused. American armor has appeared far beyond expected positions. Entire towns are lost before defensive orders are issued. Units ordered to hold crossroads arrive to find Shermans already passing through. A German staff officer scribbles notes in frustration. The enemy is not behaving properly. There is no pause, no clear front, only pressure. Patton's armored divisions, the 4th, 6th and 7th, spearhead the advance. Their radios, superior logistics and aggressive junior officers allow them to exploit every opening. A blown bridge does not halt them. Engineers throw up a temporary crossing. A defended village is bypassed. A counterattack is smashed before it fully forms. Every delay the Germans depend on simply vanishes. This relentless pace creates chaos behind German lines. Fuel depots are abandoned. Supply columns are destroyed before unloading. Field headquarters pack up and move, only to be overtaken again the next day. One German panzer officer later recalls the feeling, "We no longer reacted, we only fled." Patton is everywhere and nowhere at once. One day he is near Rennes, the next inspecting units outside Le Mans. His presence alone drives the tempo higher. When commanders ask for rest, he gives them direction. When they ask for fuel, he asks how far they can go without it. And yet, this is not recklessness. Patton understands something fundamental about the German army in the summer of 1944. It is not defeated, but it is fragile. Its strength depends on order, planning, and synchronization. Break those, and the structure collapses. Speed breaks them all. As August stretches on, the German command tries desperately to re-establish coherence. Hitler orders counterattacks. Field marshals plead for withdrawals. None of it keeps pace with Patton's advance. Every mile gained compounds the damage. Units meant to regroup never meet. Supplies meant to stabilize fronts never arrive. The German army in the west begins to resemble fragments rather than formations. Patton watches it happen in real time, and he presses harder, because he knows something the enemy does not yet fully grasp. Once momentum is lost, it can never truly be regained. And he has no intention of letting Germany breathe again. August 8, 1944, near Le Mans, France. Rain slicks the roads as dawn breaks, turning dust into mud and mud into misery. A column of German vehicles crawls eastward, horse-drawn wagons mixed with trucks, tanks idling with empty fuel gauges, infantry clinging to fenders. The men are exhausted, eyes hollow, uniforms stiff with sweat and grime. They have orders to regroup near Le Mans. They will never get the chance. Just after sunrise, American artillery opens fire. Shells crash into the column without warning, tearing wagons apart, flipping trucks into ditches. Survivors scatter for cover as the unmistakable sound of tank engines rises from the west. Shermans emerge through the mist, turrets already tracking. Patton's armor has arrived first. Le Mans falls in a matter of hours. What should have been a German rally point instead becomes a killing ground. Headquarters units are overrun before maps can be burned. Signal trucks are captured intact. Entire German divisions attempting to retreat in fragments are swallowed whole. For the German 7th Army, this is the moment when retreat turns into collapse. Patton's obsession with speed is now feeding on itself. Each captured road junction opens 2 more. Each overrun supply dump fuels another day of advance. His commanders barely have time to mark positions on maps before the front line has moved again. At 3rd Army headquarters, the situation boards struggle to keep up. Pins and string are constantly shifted eastward. A staff officer jokes grimly that by the time orders are typed, they are already obsolete. Patton doesn't care. "Don't tell me where you are," he snaps at one division commander over the radio. "Tell me where you're going." This philosophy infects the army. Battalion commanders push past resistance without waiting for permission. Tank crews sleep beside their vehicles, engines ticking as they cool. Drivers go 48 hours without rest, hands blistered around steering wheels. Speed is not just movement anymore, it is mindset. The German response comes too late and in the wrong place. On August 7th, Hitler orders Operation Lüttich, a counterattack near Morton intended to cut off Patton's spearheads. German panzer units, many operating at half strength, are thrown forward with limited fuel and no air cover. They are annihilated. American fighter bombers descend in waves, strafing and bombing German armor stalled on narrow roads. Pilots of the 9th Air Force later describe the scene as target practice. Burning tanks mark the failure of Germany's last attempt to regain initiative in Normandy. For Patton, Mortain confirms everything he believes. The enemy cannot counterattack if he never has time to prepare one. As August wears on, the battlefield transforms into a race. Patton races east toward the Seine. German forces race to escape encirclement. But the Germans are always reacting, never dictating. Nowhere is this clearer than at the Falaise pocket. While British and Canadian forces push south and American units drive north, German armies find themselves trapped in a tightening noose. Patton's units reach Ardennes with shocking speed, cutting off escape routes faster than planners anticipated. Inside the pocket, chaos reigns. German columns jam roads for miles, fuel runs out. Vehicles are abandoned. Horses collapse. Luftwaffe aircraft, once a symbol of terror, are absent from the sky. American and Allied artillery pound the trapped forces relentlessly. By the time the pocket closes in mid-August, tens of thousands of German soldiers are killed or captured. Hundreds of tanks and guns litter the countryside, twisted and burning. What escapes is no longer an army. It is a remnant. Patton pushes east without waiting for congratulations. Paris is liberated on August 25th, but 3rd Army is already beyond it, driving toward the Moselle River. The advance has covered hundreds of miles in weeks. Maps that once showed front lines now struggle to show supply routes long enough to sustain them. And now, for the first time, speed collides with reality. Fuel. Patton's tanks begin to slow, not from enemy fire, but from empty tanks. The Red Ball Express, a massive trucking operation pulling fuel from Normandy, works around the clock, but demand outpaces supply. Each mile forward stretches the logistical tether thinner. German commanders seize on this. At last, a pause. At last, time. They attempt to form defensive lines along rivers, around fortified cities like Metz. Units are scraped together from training schools, Luftwaffe ground crews, even convalescents. Orders are given to hold at all costs, but speed has already done its damage. These defenses are brittle, officers lack staff, communications are unreliable, fuel shortages cripple mobility. The German army in the west no longer possesses the cohesion required for sustained resistance. Patton knows the pause is temporary. Standing over a map, he stabs a finger toward the German border. "Once we're fueled," he says, "we go again, and we don't stop until they break." Because by now he understands something even more dangerous than speed itself. Germany no longer has the strength to recover from another blow, and the next one is coming. September 6, 1944. Near the Moselle River, eastern France. Morning fog clings to the riverbanks, muffling the low rumble of engines assembling in the dark. Engineers crouch along the shoreline, hands numb as they prepare pontoon sections. Somewhere across the water, a German machine gun fires a probing burst, the tracers briefly stitching the mist before vanishing. Patton stands wrapped in his jacket, jaw clenched, watching the river like an obstacle personally placed there to insult him. The pause for fuel has ended. For German commanders, the Moselle is meant to be a breathing space, a natural defensive barrier where shattered units can reorganize, where replacements can arrive, where lines can finally be drawn and held. It is a chance to slow the American juggernaut and restore something resembling control. Patton intends to shatter that illusion. At first light, American artillery opens up, shells crashing into known German positions along the east bank. Engineers shove pontoon sections into the water as riflemen wade forward, bullets snapping overhead. Within hours, bridgeheads are established under fire. Speed has returned. Third Army assaults cross the Moselle at multiple points, Dornot, Arneville, Thionville, forcing German defenders to respond everywhere at once. Units meant to reinforce one sector are suddenly needed in another. Orders contradict each other. Communications lag behind events unfolding faster than they can be reported. A German infantry officer later describes the experience as fighting smoke. You think you face one American unit, then another appears on your flank, then tanks are behind you. Patton's doctrine denies the enemy a single clear crisis to solve. Every success creates another problem before the previous one can be addressed, yet this phase of the campaign is no longer a wild pursuit. German resistance stiffens around Metz, a fortress city surrounded by old but formidable defenses. Rain turns fields into swamps. American supply lines stretch hundreds of miles. The easy momentum of August is gone. Patton does not slow down. Instead, he adapts speed into pressure. When frontal assaults fail, he orders wide envelopments. When bridges are destroyed, engineers rebuild them under fire. When weather grounds aircraft, artillery compensates. He refuses to wait for perfect conditions, convinced that delay is deadlier than risk. The Germans try to respond in kind. In early September, units from the German 5th Panzer Army are rushed into Lorraine. They are understrength, poorly fueled, and increasingly composed of young conscripts and older men. Their orders are stark: hold, delay, buy time. But time is the one resource Patton refuses to grant. American units probe constantly. Night patrols harass German lines. Limited attacks test weaknesses, forcing defenders to commit reserves prematurely. Every German movement is spotted, reported, and struck. There is no pause between battles, only a continuation. Captured German officers begin to tell a consistent story during interrogations. They are not beaten tactically, not yet, but they are exhausted operationally. They cannot rest, regroup, or plan. Every attempt to establish a stable defense is overtaken by events. One colonel admits quietly, "We were always reacting to yesterday." As September bleeds into October, Patton's advance slows again. Not from lack of will, but from the physical limits of supply and weather. Autumn rains turn roads into rivers of mud. Fuel shortages return. Artillery ammunition must be rationed. High command urges caution. Other Allied armies dig in, some suggest waiting for spring. Patton rejects the idea. He believes the German army is stretched to the breaking point, that one more sustained effort could push it beyond recovery. Every day of pressure bleeds German manpower they can no longer replace. Germany's reserves are gone. Training units are already committed. Fuel production has been crippled by Allied bombing. The Luftwaffe is a shadow of itself. Patton senses weakness the way a predator senses blood, so he keeps attacking, not with reckless frontal charges, but with constant motion, small advances, local breakthroughs, relentless probes. Every action denies the Germans the luxury of rebuilding. By November, the Third Army stands at the German frontier. The enemy is still fighting, still dangerous, but no longer flexible. Every defense is static, brittle, and costly. The war in the West has changed character. It is no longer about maneuver between equals. It is about how long Germany can endure pressure without the ability to recover, and Patton is determined to ensure the answer is not long. As winter approaches, both sides prepare for what they believe will be a pause. But Patton, even now, is already thinking ahead. Because speed, he believes, is not just movement. It is the refusal to let the enemy ever feel safe again. December 16, 1944, the Ardennes forest, Belgium. Snow muffles the sound of artillery as dawn breaks over the trees. For a moment, the front is eerily quiet. Then the stillness shatters. German guns erupt across a broad front, shells tearing through American positions, ripping open roads and command posts that had grown used to relative calm. The German counteroffensive has begun. For weeks, Allied commanders believed the enemy was finished for the year. Short on fuel, battered by losses, pinned against the German border, the Wehrmacht seemed incapable of mounting a major operation. Most American units are dug in for winter, rotated for rest, their guard lowered. But the Germans have gambled everything. Operation Wacht am Rhein is a desperate attempt to split the Allied armies, seize Antwerp, and force a negotiated peace. It relies on surprise, speed, and the last reserves of fuel Germany can scrape together. Ironically, it mirrors Patton's own philosophy. News reaches Third Army headquarters within hours. Reports are confused at first. Breakthroughs here, retreats there, units overrun in the fog. The word Bastogne begins to surface repeatedly, attached to pleas for relief. Patton listens in silence as his intelligence officers brief him. When they finish, he nods once. "We can handle it," he says calmly. What follows becomes one of the most astonishing maneuvers of the war. While other commands scramble to understand the scale of the attack, Patton is already moving. Weeks earlier, he had suspected the Ardennes as a possible German avenue of attack. Quietly, he had ordered contingency plans drawn up, plans to pivot Third Army north if needed. Now he calls his corps commanders together. "We're going to turn this army 90 degrees, he tells them, "and we're going to do it fast." Within hours, orders race down the chain of command. Divisions that had been facing east toward Germany begin turning north. Roads clog with traffic moving against the flow. Tanks, artillery, supply trucks, all rerouted in freezing weather on icy roads under constant pressure. It is speed under the harshest possible conditions. German commanders expect days, perhaps weeks, before any significant Allied counterstroke can materialize. Instead, American columns appear almost immediately, grinding north through snowstorms. On December 26th, elements of Patton's Third Army break through to Bastogne, relieving the surrounded 101st Airborne Division. The German timetable collapses. Momentum, the one thing the offensive required, is gone. Once again, Patton has denied the enemy time. The consequences are devastating for Germany. The Ardennes offensive burns through fuel and manpower Germany cannot replace. Elite panzer units are shattered. Vehicles are abandoned for lack of gasoline. The last strategic reserve of the Wehrmacht is spent in the snow. And Patton does not stop there. As the Germans reel, Third Army pivots again, driving eastward in January 1945. The pattern repeats. Constant pressure, rapid advances, no pauses long enough for recovery. German units fall back behind rivers, only to be forced out again. Every withdrawal costs them men they cannot replace. By now, the imbalance is absolute. American replacements arrive by the thousands. Fuel flows steadily. Artillery shells are plentiful. German divisions, by contrast, shrink into battalions, then companies. Teenagers and elderly men fill the ranks. Tanks are rare. Ammunition is hoarded. Speed has done what no single battle could. It has bled Germany dry. By February, Patton's forces cross the Rhine. The heart of Germany lies open. Cities fall in rapid succession. Resistance continues, but it is fragmented, desperate, and increasingly symbolic. The enemy no longer counterattacks, they endure, and endure is not enough. Patton rides forward through ruined towns, his army still moving, still pressing. The war is not yet over, but its outcome is no longer in doubt. Germany has lost not just ground, but the ability to recover, and that, Patton believes, is the true definition of defeat. March 7, 1945, near Oppenheim, Germany. The Rhine flows cold and wide beneath a low grey sky, its surface broken only by drifting debris and the quiet slap of water against the banks. For generations, this river has been Germany's final shield, a barrier armies prepare months to cross, a line behind which defenders gather strength for one last stand. But on this morning, there is no last stand. Under cover of darkness, Patton's engineers have already done their work. Pontoon bridges stretch across the Rhine almost casually, erected with the confidence of men who know the enemy is no longer capable of stopping them. Infantry files across, rifles held high. Tanks follow, steel treads clanking onto German soil. The crossing is nearly unopposed. A German officer watching from a distant tree line lowers his binoculars in disbelief. There is no counterattack forming behind him, no reserves waiting to strike, no fuel to move them even if they existed. The river has not restored German strength. It has exposed its absence. Patton moves fast again, faster than planners expect, faster than German headquarters can react. Frankfurt falls. Würzburg follows. Each city is taken before coherent defenses can form. German units surrender in groups, then in masses. White flags appear in windows, on vehicles, tied to sticks and rifles. Interrogations tell the same story everywhere. No fuel, no ammunition, no replacements, and most importantly, no time. Germany's remaining commanders are trapped in a cycle Patton perfected months earlier. Any attempt to organize is overtaken by American movement. Any pause invites attack. Any withdrawal costs irreplaceable men. Speed has turned the German rear into a permanent front. By April, Third Army is driving deep into central Germany. Patton's columns liberate camps, seize rail hubs, capture factories still trying to function under bombing and shortages. The contrast is stark. American logistics hum forward relentlessly, while Germany's war economy collapses in place. On April 12th, Patton receives word that President Franklin Roosevelt is dead. For a moment, the general is silent. Then he issues orders and the army keeps moving, because movement has become habit. On April 22nd, Soviet forces enter Berlin. Germany's political and military leadership fractures completely. Orders contradict each other. Some units fight on blindly. Others lay down arms without firing a shot. There is no coordinated recovery, because there is nothing left to coordinate. When Germany surrenders on May 7, 1945, Patton's Third Army has advanced farther and faster than any American force in history. It has crossed France, shattered armies, pivoted in winter, breached the Rhine and driven into the heart of the Reich. But Patton does not measure victory in miles. He measures it in what the enemy never regained: time. From Normandy onward, his obsession with speed denied Germany the pauses it needed to heal wounds, rebuild units, and restore command. Every delay became permanent, every loss compounded, every retreat led not to recovery, but to further collapse. Germany was never allowed to stand back up. Long after the guns fall silent, German officers will write the same conclusion in memoirs and post-war studies. They were not always outgunned, they were not always outnumbered in every fight, but they were never allowed to recover. And that, more than any single battle, decided the war in the West. Patton understood it from the beginning. Speed did not just win ground, it broke an enemy beyond repair.